Drivers are one step closer to paying for the privilege of driving in Midtown Manhattan. A commission approved a modified version of Mayor Bloomberg's plan to reduce traffic in the city. Ranjani Srinivasan reports.
Environmental activist Elizabeth Yampier drives from Brooklyn to Manhattan almost every weekday, and she welcomes the proposal.
It takes me 45 minutes to just get around a block and find parking, so I'm hoping that it'll take me less time.
A change would include an $8 fee for cars entering Manhattan below 60th Street from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's fine, say supporters, many of whom rallied at City Hall today.
If they are coming into the city, they'll have a second thought and actually buy into public transit.
Although the proposal has been drumming up a lot of support by environmental groups and activists, there is a percentage of people that say this is not the answer to all the problems.
This is unfair on a level that New Yorkers aren't used to. This is a tax on working people from the outer boroughs.
But others disagree, saying the plan is not just pro-Manhattan, but will help people from all 5 boroughs.
About 110,000 fewer cars a day will be coming in as a result of congestion pricing, which, it doesn't mean that those cars are just not going to be in Manhattan. It means those cars are not going to be in the Bronx, those cars are not going to be in Western Queens, those cars are not going to be in Brooklyn.
These recommendations are on their way to the state legislature, where its prospects are uncertain. Ranjani Srinivasan, Columbia News Tonight.
It's the first day of Black History Month, but in Harlem, one of America's most vibrant African-American communities, Black history is disappearing. Marina Yaloyan has the story.
Soon we might not be able to hear this kind of black music on the streets of Harlem. The City Planning Commission continues to rezone Harlem's Main Street, 125th. Now more and more large retailers are replacing neighborhood stores.
They are revitalizing the place or gentrifying the place, and you know what that means. They're trying to get us out of there.
In a community where median household income is $27,000, rising rents can be alarming to both residents and independent business owners.
Will it be growth and development that is mutually beneficial for the community as well as the corporate interests coming in? Or will it be one-sided and only representing the interests of the business class and the corporate class that is coming here?
Of his country.
The owner of the Record Shack has run his store for 41 years. Now he's in danger of being evicted.
The store has been my life. I've been doing this all these years without a hiccup, and it means that much to me. But most importantly, the service to the community.
The Record Shack is an example of a cultural institution. It connects not just new CDs, it has old records, it has the historical references of this community.
Sikulu Shanj is trying to save his shop by attending public meetings and organizing a rally.
This is the citadel of learning in Harlem. City College is in Harlem.
We're not going anywhere.
People responsible for the rezoning say that redevelopment will benefit both the city and the neighborhood.
And we believe that our plan, supports the vision for 125th Street as being a major Manhattan Street and a major Harlem Street.
But many longtime residents think that the new plan will force them to leave Harlem.
That's right. That's right. We are going to fight
and protest at city planning.
Why won't you listen to the people of Harlem? What is wrong with you? You're about to ruin our community and you're saying shut up.
The fight to keep stores on 125th Street open continues in Harlem. If all the efforts fail, the store behind me, the Record Shack, will be closing March 31st. I'm Marina Yaloyan, Columbia Television News.
Still to come on Columbia News Tonight. Those millions of old cell phones, giving them a second life.
A challenge in the age of technology. What do you do with those cool new cell phones you bought when they are no longer so cool or new? Saruthi Pananameni has the story.
It's not usually what people imagine doing with their cell phones. But these bins aren't for trashing old phones, they're for recycling them. And they could save thousands of pounds of toxic materials from seeping into the environment. Mike Newman, Vice President of Recellular, a mobile phone recycling company, says his company receives 25,000 cell phones a day for recycling.
As any individual phone, the problem is not so great. It doesn't contain that much hazardous materials. But when you think about how many phones are out there, and when you present the issue that way to consumers, that really opens their eyes. And 130 million phones is a lot of phones.
Recellular was just one of the companies encouraging this kind of recycling at the Greener Gadgets conference in Midtown today, where executives and artists were talking about ways to reduce the damage that electronics have on the environment. Many Americans trade in their mobile phones every 12 to 18 months, so the waste is adding up. While 150 million cell phones are taken out of service in the U.S. every year, only around 1 to 5% are recycled or reused. Studies estimate that more than 500 million cell phones are left in desk drawers alone. Other phones are just tossed in the trash can. Earlier this month, the Environmental Protection Agency launched a campaign to tell people that recycling cell phones is as easy as recycling bottles and cans. But EPA scientist Joe Bergstein says getting people to recycle phones will take time.
We know how to produce them, we know how to use them, but maybe we don't know how to manage them at the end of life.
Some recycled cell phones are sold in online auctions, and some are donated to charities. Others are shipped overseas where they are melted down for metal. But the important thing, environmental scientists say, is that your phone be given a second life. Shruti Pinnamaneni, Columbia News Tonight.
Overseas, India's internet services are almost completely restored after cable connections were damaged on Wednesday. 2 cables off Egypt's northern coast snapped, and internet access in the Gulf region and South Asia were disrupted. Services are operating at about 80%, and it could take a week for services to return to normal. In Kenya, rival groups agreed today to try to end 5 weeks of violence. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon urged Kenyans to put an end to the attacks that have killed 800 people and left 300,000 homeless since late December. Fighting among ethnic groups broke out because of a dispute over the country's presidential election results. Earlier today, 9 people were killed west of the capital, Nairobi. The 2 rival parties signed a 4-point agenda and said they would complete talks within 15 days.
Coming up, thousands of volunteers take to the streets to find out just how many people are calling them home. How many homeless are there in New York? In its annual census, the Department of Homeless Services canvassed the 5 boroughs to try to find out. Gail Lisa reports.
It's important to just address this issue. Homelessness is a tragedy.
More than 2,600 volunteers walked more than 8,000 miles of city streets looking for people who spend their nights outdoors.
Anytime you see well over 2,000 New Yorkers come together and spend the night walking the streets across the 5 boroughs, looking for people experiencing homelessness, that's a very good night.
Volunteers approached everyone and asked if they had a place to stay. Those that didn't were offered a ride to a shelter. But for at least one homeless man, the survey fell short.
But no one approached me. I slept on in the projects, on the roof.
These oversights may not be the only problem with the survey.
Despite the enthusiasm of Hope volunteers, some advocates suggest this count is little more than a publicity stunt. They question why the city would choose to conduct its survey during one of the coldest months of the year.
Critics say the number of homeless people on the streets is the lowest in the winter. But homelessness analyst Brendan O'Flaherty says the survey has to be done at this time of year.
Is that it would be almost impossible to conduct in the summer. In Manhattan, at 3 o'clock in the morning in the summer, there are too many people.
But the survey misses those homeless people who escape harsh weather by going into 24-hour businesses.
It does not include people who are in private places because as a volunteer for the City of New York or even an employee of the City of New York, I don't have a right to go into a private place.
Last year's count estimated more than 3,300 people were on the streets. This year's count will be available in 2 months. For Columbia News Tonight, I'm Gail Lisa.